Вперед! Шагом! Марш!
The charismatic General Halliday and the 4th Brigade find themselves at the forefront of the British defence. Seeking to cement his right flank, General Halliday places a Hanoverian battalion and his rifle detachment near a small forest, whilst the bulk of his infantry move into a small hamlet. He then orders his cavalry to cover the right flank overlooking the road. Opposite Halliday and the 4th, marching through the long grass, comes General de Brigade, Jean-Charles Abatucha, and his Middle Guard Brigade, with cannon on the high ground and cavalry taking the road. Sweeping around Halliday's position is the French heavy cavalry, partially obscured by small forest groves. It is uncertain if the British know how bad the predicament they are in truly is. French turn 1. The battle begins with French cannons taking a toll on the leading British cavalry. On the opposite flank, the Middle Guard take the roar of cannon fired as the sign to begin their advance towards the British right flank. Jean-Charles Abatucha sends his light cavalry around the hamlet to lock down the opposing British cavalry. Hearing a thunderous rumbling, they look to their right and see a wave of cuirassiers and carabiniers charging forward. British turn 1. The British riflemen hiding amongst the grove begin to pepper the oncoming Middle Guard with accurate fire. At the same time, the British line sends forward a handful of light skirmishers to also give the French a bloody nose. The somewhat stunned small Hussar regiment falls back behind the security of its bigger cousin. French turn 2. Vive l'Empereur. With a mighty surge, the Middle Guard rush into the British defenders. Unfortunately, the grove proves somewhat of an impediment, slightly breaking up the mass of the attack column. On the other side of the hamlet, the small Lancer regiment charges into the British Hussars with support from their own Hussars. Not willing to enter the hamlet, the French heavy cavalry split to either side. The infantry melees proved to be a surprisingly bloody affair for the French. The riflemen give a good accounting for themselves before retiring to safety, as the Hanoverian line stands toe-to-toe with the Middle Guard. The cavalry fight sees both sides exchanging blows before choosing to fall back due to severe casualties. British turn 2. Field Marshal Sir Percival Giffard enters the fracas, leading the forward elements of the 2nd Brigade. The Hussars join the Hanoverians, defending the hamlet, as the British line bash their way through the grove, and in a shocking result the French Middle Guard capitulate, turning tail and running. One can only imagine a foul rumour must have spread through the columns. French turn 3. The Guard cannon try to turn the tide, hurling shot after shot into the grove, inspiring the remaining Guard to assault into the same grove. They are soon joined by General de Brigade, Pierre Jean-Baptiste Lacoste de Fontenelle, and the heavy cavalry. The grove proves to be a bloody and cursed spot, as both sides fail to gain an advantage, and the melee continues. British turn 3. From a small rise on their far left, the recently arrived British cannon batteries open fire. General William Cuppage and the 2nd Brigade continue to stream onto the battlefield, rushing to support the Hanoverian line, and they are just in time, as the Guard battalion finally clear out the stubborn Hanoverians. French turn 4. Cannon fire catches the British line as it advances around the hamlet. The fight around the grove intensifies as the heavy cavalry charge into the British and move to cover the severely mauled Guard battalion. On the other side of the hamlet, the Hussars spy the oncoming British line and move to harass. In the melee, the British line learn the wisdom of forming square the hard way. British turn 4. All along the battlefield, British skirmishers and cannon continue to pick away at the oncoming French, leading to the end of the small lancer regiment. Along the rise on the British far left, the Allied Uhlans made their way towards the French cannon. Under the cover of this fire, General William Coppage continues to place his forces as he sees best to repel the French advance. French turn 5, as the Guard battalion try to redress their ranks and stand the wounded up. The French heavy cavalry charge upon the British, with some even dismounting from their horses to make their way through the hamlets. On the opposite flank, the French light cavalry moves to encircle the hamlets and defend the cannon battery. In the battle for the hamlet, the heavy cavalry drives back the lancers, as the dismounted cavalry defeat the Hanoverians before falling back to the other side of the hamlet. British turn 5. Not wanting to enter the grove and fight face to face with the Guard, the light cavalry attempt to use their carbines to drive off the foe, leaving the safety of the British square. A few skirmishers bravely bring down some of the French hussars. Meanwhile, the advancing Uhlans flank the hussars, defending the cannon. The fight for the hamlet has turned into a cavalry skirmish, with the allied British hussars charging into the French carabiners. To no one's surprise, the Uhlans drove straight through the French hussar and then the cannon battery. As the carabiners win their fight, the remaining French regiments, hearing rumors of the British circling behind, panic and flee the battlefield. French turn 6. The Guard cannon fire from the hill, taking a toll on the English square. In the grove, the few remaining middle guard take shots of opportunity at the oncoming British battalions. The last of the French heavy cavalry take it upon themselves to change fate and charge into the small Uhlans regiment. At the same time, the hussars turn to head back towards the rear, possibly to take care of the rampaging Uhlans regiment. The heavy cavalry easily dispatches the Uhlans and starts to fall back, as General de Brigade, Pierre-Jean-Baptiste Lacoste de Fontenille, establishes control of the wayward riders. British turn 6. At the grove, the British line halts to return fire at the hiding Guard soldiers, whilst skirmishers from the square continue to harass the hussars. Back in the middle, the rampaging Uhlans regiment begin to make their way towards the hamlet and the trapped French hussars, as the French find themselves flanked by yet another cavalry regiment. French turn 7. The hussars, realizing their predicament, steel themselves and with a mighty surge charge forward to fight their way to freedom. The French heavy cavalry, back under the control of their general, move to reinforce the advancing middle guard in the grove. In the cavalry ruck, the lancers continue their destructive ways, scattering the hussars to the wind. British turn 7. As the British line fire rippling volleys into the oncoming Guard, the small hussar regiment pulls off a very surprising move, somehow flying into the flank of the French heavy cavalry, easily driving them away from supporting the Guard. The end. As the sun dips beyond the horizon, all that's left of the French presence on the battlefield is the Guard cannon battery, who continue to fire on the British, allowing the scattered remnants of the French brigades to fall back to the morning's camp. The French brigades have taken between 25 and 50% casualties, and there is now a stream of survivors between the battlefield and the town of Sarria.